All right, this is going to be a continuation of the last one. Whenever I'm sitting down to do a drawing, a nice drawing, or one I want to spend time on, I'm going to do a series of thumbnails first, just so I understand what the potential of the drawing is. What are my options and for what I can talk about? Because remember, these are, in essence, the exact same perspective drawn in each one, but I'm telling a very different story. So I would consider these thumbnails. These are pretty mature thumbnails. There's a lot of, they could have been done simpler. But at the same time, I've come up with some ideas of what I want to do next. And actually, I think I'm kind of taken with the idea of doing something vertical, but I don't think the toning and I don't think this turned out well, but I like the idea of this kind of like powerfully dramatic vertical element here. This does work really well and does talk about this, but in essence it's too easy and I want to do something a little more challenging. This one, I really like how it makes me look off in this distance over here, even though this is really dramatic over there. It's like, as a form, that volume shoots off over there, making this really clear. This is a bit more interesting to me because these two spaces, if you were standing out here, kind of look back over there, and I think that's kind of compelling. But I like the idea of a vertical arrangement in something, so I'm going to try to play with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is, how will I frame this out on my drawing? For those that went with me on the very first walk and drawing, I talked a lot about how getting used to laying out a drawing on the page so it's already helping tell the story you want it to, and not trying to render the entire piece of paper, which all of you have been doing. All of you have been rendering an entire piece of paper. I can see it in what you photograph. So start to look at how you can frame your drawing to help communicate what you want, okay? So what I want to do is I want to say, okay, I like that idea, as we were looking at with that framing, that the focal point is going to be something back off in the distance over here. So I'm going to put that horizon line across right here, and I'm going to put that building about here looking off to this distance, okay? Now what I would also do is kind of balance this. So I'm probably going to bring something in vertically here to kind of frame out this composition. Okay, so now all of a sudden I'm looking at how I'm enjoying this piece of paper, how I'm laying out my drawing before I'm even doing anything. I'm just getting an idea of where the drawing is going to sit, okay? So if this is the case, I'm going to, I might take this idea of the vanishing point right here. I might put another vanishing point over there. I'm going to put, just as I constructed in that past one, there's going to be my vertical, right? And I did kind of, remember, 1/3 down and then 2/3 up. So there's the bottom and there's the top of what I have. So let's start to construct that drawing just as I did in the last one. All right. Okay, now I brought, and I was kind of arbitrary about how deep this was going, but I'm putting one there, and I'm going to put one here. Okay, now remember I figured out what is the midpoint. Okay, that's about the midpoint right there, so that's the midpoint of that wall. Remember I used that kind of divided how I did both that roof element and the floor element. It was also, the midpoint was where I divided the solid void of this object, right? There's that ledge. Now I also took this floor, remember, and I shot it out. Okay, good distance. I also gave it a thickness. Okay. And I brought that there. Now how big is it? We know it goes from here, so now I can come through. All right, now bring this. That hits there. This line also comes out there, and we know this hits corner to corner, and this should line up with that. right? Now we got that underside. Now the other thing we had going was the extension of this, so I'm going to fan this out, shooting out, fan this out, shooting out, and I want it to come out quite a ways. So let's say that far. All right. So there is that object drawn the way I want, bringing me back out. Now what I want to do to kind of bring a little more attention over here is I like the idea of, I said the focal point over there. What if there was something off in the distance that when you were, let's say, standing here, that you're looking off to, okay? That's my goal. So I'm going to take these lines, I'm going to use them and say, okay, way out here, in line with this, I'm going to have, let's say, okay, this line and this line are the same. So if I bring this vertical line up, that would be at the same spot, right? So let's say this object as if it's pushed back. And I'm going to say there is a big wall way off over here. Project. Let's say it's just like that. Click down to the. Okay, let's give it a thickness. In essence, it would be what was plugged in right here as if it had been pushed way back. Okay, so now all of a sudden this person can look way back there and we feel like it's shooting all the way back there, right? Some relationship. Now, I was talking about something I think is always kind of fun is I was calling it Frank Lloyd Wright's frame. He likes to put in a frame element, foreground. It's a way of kind of understand how to position a drawing on the page. Let me zoom out. He did this quite a lot in his plates. So we see how like the frame isn't around. The frame actually comes into the tree. The frame becomes the ground plane that comes over. Look at the frame even comes up, bush, and then becomes in essence the handrail coming in, which is part of the drawing. He did this quite a lot. The frame breaking and becoming something else or dissolving away. This is always great seeing like the frame becomes the tree on the edge. There's nothing down below. Sorry, there's an image below. So we see how like the drawing just seems to disintegrate with that foreground element. But we start to get an understanding that how it sits on the page has been figured out to achieve that, right? It's a really important element. Really nice one. So even here, the frame is implied by just the tree edge ending and then stuff allowing to flow out. You know, so how does this sit on the page in a kind of really nice way? So I think it's kind of fun to compose the drawing on the page, because usually there might be some information that we're talking about, stuff like that. And so remember, let's see, I had liked that idea of highlighting the surfaces and doing the sky. Well, if I want the sky, maybe I don't want the whole sky to be done. I want to focus some attention in a certain area. And so remember when I was saying that I might like have something that kind of balances the page a little bit. Well, if I want to draw my attention to here, I'm in essence making a line and some lines this way. So let's say I'm going to, I'm just going to do all the vertical lines again, the simplest one, which was Okay, so we got those, and now actually that surface would be dark in the background. Okay. Now if I want this to punch the way we had done it before, do I take, remember these are pretty long lines for me, I'm going to do long lines as the sky right in this area. Going to the horizon line. I'm doing a little trick here. I'm letting my hand rest on the edge of the paper to help me draw these lines straight. So you know my pinky is actually, ooh, I did a poor job there. My pinky is on the edge of my paper. Big cheat. Okay, now I'm going to come in, maybe let's take this. With that there, what happens if I take and just come in and punch spatial edge. Now if I want to have fun with this, I might even come back in and say, bump, bump. My person, and then just to have, we sometimes want to talk about stuff. So what happens if this, maybe I have a title bar, and now all of a sudden I'm communicating what I want to about the project. I might have text, I might have another drawing I ghost into here, but understanding how to use the paper to communicate what you want, usually more than just the drawing. So getting away from that idea that you're rendering the entire piece of paper like as if you took a photograph versus communicating what you want and framing it on the paper to accentuate that. So I could put today's date, title, I might have where I'm at. When we get a little further, we might even have a floor plan ghosted in that and drawn in that more. Could have a lot of fun.